In the heart of the African savanna, a mother lioness did something that would shake the very foundation of what we think we know about the animal kingdom. She adopted a baby gorilla. Yes, you heard that right. A lioness, one of nature's most fearsome predators, became a mother to a tiny gorilla infant who had lost everything. But what happened months later left wildlife experts absolutely speechless. And I promise you, by the end of this story, you won't be able to hold back your tears. It started on a morning that seemed like any other. The lioness had just given birth to 3 beautiful cubs in a hidden den beneath an acacia tree. Her maternal instincts were at their peak, every fiber of her being devoted to protecting and nurturing her newborns. But fate had something extraordinary planned for this particular lioness. A group of rangers patrolling the reserve heard unusual sounds coming from near the riverbank. Not the typical calls of the savannah, but desperate, heartbreaking cries that pierced through the morning air. When they investigated, they found something that broke their hearts into a million pieces. A baby gorilla, no more than 2 months old, was clinging to his deceased mother. Poachers had struck in the night, and this little one was the sole survivor of an attack that had claimed his entire family. The rangers knew they had to act fast. Baby gorillas need constant care, warmth, and milk to survive, and the nearest sanctuary was over 200 miles away. The infant, who they later named Jabari, wouldn't make it through such a journey without proper care. They brought him to the ranger station, desperately trying to figure out what to do next. Here's where the story takes an unbelievable turn. Can you imagine what happened when the lioness caught the scent of this orphaned baby? Would a lioness, a natural predator, show mercy to a creature so vulnerable? The lioness had wandered close to the ranger station that evening, likely drawn by the scent of the unusual visitor. The rangers watched in absolute terror as she approached, fearing the worst. But what the lioness did next defied every law of nature they thought they knew. Instead of seeing prey, she saw a baby, an infant in need. With the gentlest touch, she picked up little Jabari by the scruff of his neck, the same way she carried her own cubs, and began walking back toward her den. The rangers were paralyzed with shock. Should they intervene? Would the lioness harm the baby once she got him alone? They decided to follow at a distance, cameras ready, hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and wonder. What they witnessed that night would be documented as one of the most extraordinary acts of cross-species compassion ever recorded. The lioness brought Jabari into her den and laid him down right next to her own 3 cubs. She began grooming him, licking his fur with the same tenderness she showed her biological children. And then, in a moment that still brings tears to the eyes of everyone who saw the footage, she allowed Jabari to nurse alongside her cubs. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever witnessed something so pure, so incredibly beautiful that it restored your faith in the goodness that exists in this world? Drop a comment below if this story is touching your heart. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Jabari grew stronger, thriving under the lioness's devoted care. The unlikely family became inseparable. The lion cubs accepted their new brother without question, playing with him, sleeping in a tangled pile of fur and tiny limbs. Jabari learned to roar, or at least his version of it, which came out as an adorable mix between a gorilla's grunt and a cub's squeak. He would ride on the lioness's back as she moved through the grasslands, his small fingers clutching her mane, his eyes wide with wonder at the world his adoptive mother was showing him. The rangers kept a careful watch, documenting every moment of this miraculous bond. Wildlife photographers came from around the globe to witness this phenomenon. Scientists were baffled but mesmerized. How was this possible? How could maternal love transcend species, instinct, and the very nature of the food chain itself? But as Jabari grew, everyone knew that difficult questions loomed on the horizon. What would happen as he got bigger? Would the lioness's instincts change? Would the other lions in the pride accept him as he matured? The rangers prepared for the heartbreaking possibility that they might have to separate this beautiful family. Then, 4 months into this extraordinary arrangement, something happened that nobody could have predicted. A group of poachers returned to the area, the same ruthless gang that had destroyed Jabari's original family. They had been tracked for weeks, and on this particular night, they came dangerously close to the lioness's den. They had weapons, traps, and the cold hearts of people who saw these magnificent creatures as nothing more than money. What happened next will give you chills. Would the lioness protect Jabari, or would her own cubs take priority? Would this be where the fairy tale ended? The answer came swift and fierce. When the poachers approached, the lioness emerged from her den like a golden storm. But she wasn't alone. The entire lion pride, which had been watching over this unusual family from a distance, materialized from the darkness. They had accepted Jabari as one of their own, and they were ready to defend him with their lives. The roar that erupted from those lions echoed across the savannah like thunder. It was a sound of pure, protective fury, a declaration that this baby was under their protection, and anyone who dared threaten him would face the full wrath of the pride. The poachers fled in terror, stumbling over themselves to escape. But the rangers, who had been waiting for this moment, were ready. With the help of local law enforcement, every single one of those poachers was captured that night. Justice, real justice, was finally served for Jabari's biological family. The baby gorilla who had lost everything had gained something even more powerful. A family that would literally fight to the death to protect him. The lioness had given him more than milk and warmth. She had given him a future, safety, and a love that proved that compassion knows no boundaries. Are you crying yet? Because I'll tell you, there wasn't a dry eye among those rangers that night. Today, Jabari lives in a protected sanctuary where he can grow with other gorillas, but he still visits the lioness and her cubs regularly. Their bond remains unbreakable, a living testament to the extraordinary capacity for love that exists in nature. This story proves that families aren't just about blood. They're about love, protection, and the courage to care for someone who needs you, no matter how different they might be. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that miracles still happen in this world, hit that like button and subscribe to hear more incredible true stories that will restore your faith in the beauty of life. Share this with someone who needs to believe in the power of love today.